Hi, welcome everyone. This is a new episode of With the Shits, hosted by Lana. This episode, I'm going to talk about me and entrepreneurship. I haven't touched base and introduced myself to the community, and I felt this was the best way to do it, to have an episode actually giving some time and space to explaining me and my experience. I have been in both entrepreneurship and corporate work environments, and they have both posed good and bad times. They all have good and bad times. So I just wanted to maybe touch some base on both of those and just my experience and a whole with that. So I just want to open up with, my name is Lana or Shalana. I normally go by Lana. A lot of my friends know me as Lana. And I would consider myself a habitual entrepreneur. I have been kind of fascinated by the concept since a child. I've seen it in my family. It's really nothing new to me, that I'm truly grateful that it isn't new to me. The concepts and how to maneuver and negotiation, all the intricacies, definitely, there's always areas of opportunity in that. But as far as entrepreneurship as a concept, it was never new to me. It was always something that I knew that was tangible and obtainable. And I also knew that hardworking and getting to a higher level in corporate industry and formal work atmosphere was also a possibility, because I'm not shy of seeing that within my family. I can say that I do feel extremely grateful that I do come from a semi place of privilege when speaking on those two topics in a Black household, just because of the inconsistencies that are found within our community and those that are surrounding us. So I would like to acknowledge that in some aspects, I do acknowledge and I am aware that I'm speaking from a place of privilege. So that's one thing that I am aware of. And I do know that I don't know everything, but I know in comparison, I'm not completely on ground level, and that is an advantage and in my favor. That has always worked in my favor, that I have never been really told I couldn't do something. So that really mindset has always been, I guess, embedded in me without even knowing it from a child. Academically, career, socially, my family really does have a wide range of successful individuals. Even now, my generation of cousins are doing exceptionally well in the things that they find passion in, from trucking to coaching to entrepreneurship to real estate to education. I mean, there really are some wonderful, wonderful people within my immediate family that I am extremely grateful for. So I just wanted to maybe touch on just some base of me, of where I'm coming from in entrepreneurship and corporate world, and just really how I got into just entrepreneurship. Like I said, is really just my family has always, I would say, I guess, hustled in some way, and it has shown me that you can make your own freedom and you can make your own way. And it never really was a question of, could I do it? But when will I do it and how will I do it? So it really gave me momentum just to have amazing individuals around me. And I really think that helped me in ways that I probably could never evaluate, because some things are so innate to me that I even catch myself I catch myself finding myself in conversations, and I'm like, yeah, though that's not a given. Certain things. Just for instance, I was having a conversation with my sister, my older sister, and I was just explaining to her the privileges that she's had, that I think sometimes, I don't think she takes for granted, but she doesn't realize how limited those opportunities were for kids who were brought up in the 70s and in the 80s to completely be supported, both financially, academically, and time-wise, to have it to give. It's just certain things that I just reflect on, and I just think that maybe we just don't realize exactly all that we have. And it's easy because we're always aspiring for that next best thing. So that next best thing is always on your mind, and your accomplishments become normacies, and they get taken for granted or forgotten about. I know there's a few things that I forget about that I've done until someone says, "Oh, didn't you do such and such, or weren't you?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess yes." So I just want to touch on that, and how it all comes. But definitely I believe that it came to me just out of being normacy, trying to break away from confinement and control has always been something that has kind of been embedded in me. I know, just for a story, my grandfather, he was known for his nickname was Walkaway Jones. And so this concept came from, he would be at work on a naval base. He's retired Army master welder, and he was working on the naval base like many of the Black veterans did in Philadelphia. He worked on the naval base, and he would a lot of times be told to do things that he just was not. I guess it just wasn't in his daily routine. He just wasn't going to do it. He just wasn't for it. He just had a very low tolerance, and he was never a person to get loud or to scream or to argue. I mean, I think I saw my grandfather angry once in my entire life. And so they would ask him to do things, and he would just walk away. He wouldn't argue. He wouldn't say no. He wouldn't do any of that. He would just walk away. So, and I think that the defiance in him came from his sense of wanting privileges and freedoms, of controlling his own time and his own space, and not forfeiting it, and allowing people to take with it and maneuver it and manage it as they please. I mean, I think he was in full aware that it was to put a food on the table for my aunts and uncles and my grandmother, but I think he also understood that there was but so much that he would allow himself to subject to that didn't fit in line with what he wanted to do. And it's so easy to look at defiance as simply defiance, but defiance can define really your tolerance level and personally. And though there are times that you don't have the liberties of really exercising it completely, you still are becoming aware of what you will and will not tolerate. And so I think that just the mindset of freedoms and being the sole controller, as some would say, of my own actions and my own turnout. You take accountability for that, both on the good and the bad. And that's just something that's really been apparent. It's never been verbalized, but it's been definitely heavily apparent in my family, about what the freedoms can afford you. So I just really think that entrepreneurship has kind of been innate in me. Even going back to my great uncles, great aunts, they've done everything on a farm to produce income, from raising pigs to cutting down lumber to sharecropping their land to others, to renting their trailer spaces, to making, which some may not even know what I'm talking about when I say this, to making souse meats and hoghead cheese and different things that's very, very much still used and ate in the South. They did a lot of that, and that was their hustle, and I've never not seen any of my great uncles or great aunts not do something that helped them define and structure their own freedom. So it's always been obvious to me that it was definitely tangible. And so in the corporate life, a lot of my experience is with, I would say it would sum up to well, no, not really. I guess it would sum up to sales and customer service. I've managed many big retail stores. I've managed many large real estate spaces. I have always been good with numbers. I've been a tutor for calculus, for accounting, for statistics. I've always been good with numbers, and so business and entrepreneurship and things like that were very easy to me to adapt to and to understand because of the concepts. And I've always felt that being what I call very lucid with mathematics and science allow you to digest things. I believe I have always been good in school, and I've always been that type of I've always been an academic. I've really ever had to try, unfortunately, which then, if anyone out there is like me, knows that has a supreme bad sides, because it can make you a hyper productive procrastinator. I don't even know if that's a term, but that is definitely something that comes from absorbing things with ease like that. So just for instance, like a lot of times when it came for accounting for me, if I wrote out the problem, wrote out the formula, I either would make a shortcut in my head, and I could do it. I used to do calculus in my head. I used to do statistics in my head. Like if I can write down the formula, understand the concept, pretty much there's not really much for me to study after that point. So it really helped me in understanding a lot of things. It really helped in different forms. It showed its face in Excel. It shows its face in business management. It shows its way in logistics. It shows its way. I know I have a lot of vendors where it comes in play with, all the different variables of expiring products, turnover time, delivery time, just all of it. It just all comes into place. A lot of times people say, I don't know when I'm going to use algebra. Believe it or not, you use it a lot more than you think you do. It's just the values aren't A, B, and C, and X and Y and YMXP. It's not, there just aren't those variables, but you use it more than you think you do. And we don't realize it because it's a lot easier to say, when will I ever use it? So, yeah, so a lot of things, played for me that helped me to make entrepreneurship just an easy transition for me. I am fully aware that entrepreneurship is not a thing for everybody. I have an amazing friend who always tells me, I'll be your strongest second ever. That's what she tells me. And she's amazing. She is brilliant. And she's even more brilliant that she is aware that that is her strength. She knows that that's not what she wants to do, and that's not what she likes to do, and that's not what she feels most comfortable in doing, is entrepreneurship. But if ever I needed her, I know that she's going to type 1,000,000 words per second for me, and she's going to make sure that it's right and everything like that. So I'm fully aware about entrepreneurship not being, a thing for everybody, but it's good to just know that the opportunities are out there, and there's many facets on how to exploit entrepreneurship too, which that's a whole nother topic in itself. But yeah, so I just wanted, touch on how and why I kind of got into entrepreneurship. And I mean, really, to sum it up, it came natural to me. It's innate to me. And the freedoms that it allows you, and the not so freedoms that it doesn't allow you, fall in line with what I want to do. I love to create. I love to inspire. I love to be inspired. I love to research. I love to figure things out. I love to problem solve. That's one of the main things that I've always been since a child, is a problem solver. It may be the middle child in me. It may be a lot of things. It may be a lot of things, but definitely it is definitely a good thing to have and to know and be aware of and to flex. And that's just part of my hows and whys of entrepreneurship and corporate. And really, corporate came to me because, like I said, my family is a hustler, so I knew I couldn't start a business at 14. I think my first job was at like 14, 15. And then also I became a habitual worker. So that was another thing. Like, multiple streams of income has always been a thing for me. I think I got my second job, I think at like 16 or 17. Like, anyone who knows me knows I've always worked. I've always saved. I've always not had limitations. I've never set limitations on what I thought I could do. It never was, but could I do it? No, it was, do I want to do it? Do I feel like doing it? Because if I want to do it, I can do it. That's always been a mindset of mine. It's always been something of mine. And I'm pretty sure it probably gets on my friends' nerves sometimes, because when we're discussing ideas about certain things, and my friends are just, very different. Some do entrepreneurship, some do corporate, some are completely freaking geniuses, some artists, some developers, some professional travelers, just a really just a different range of desires that my friends have. And they always come to me with concepts and ask for feedback, and I'm never really like, you can't do it. That's not really in my vocabulary, because I'm a math person, I'm a science person, I'm a pragmatic person. I think about, how do you get that? Is it feasible? Is it probable? Not so much probable, especially when we're talking about skin color. I don't use probability a lot because that's skewed data, so I don't really use probability a lot. But I will definitely think about the likelihood, given all things equal, but not probability, because of how probability works, is a little skewed, and that's a whole whole nother math thing. But anyway, I just, I'm always the one that's like, you could do it. Like, you just need to figure out how. And honestly, sometimes, to be honest, that's not the answer that people want. Sometimes people want, oh, you can't do that, because it fits in a line with what they're comfortable with. And this is not a thing. I'm always about, how do you get it done? How is it going to get done? Because it's so weird. I was watching the previews. I really don't think I will watch it, but I was watching the previews for I think Kanye's most recent documentary that's out, and he was saying something to the effect of, I've been told that I can do everything. I've been told that I can do anything. And it's kind of crazy to hear someone say that, but it's not so much I've been told that, but I've never been told I couldn't. I've been told things into the lines of, black people don't get those opportunities. It's hard for black people, or just a simplified baby boomer answer. Black people don't do that, but never, you can't. Never, it's impossible. And that's another one thing that I'm really firm on when people tell me, because sometimes I do some business consulting and people say, this is really, really hard. This is really hard. This can't be done. I'm like, hard is not impossible. So it really is based upon, your thought process and your problem solving and maneuvering the resources that you have to get what you need to have what you want. And that's a lot of what, I guess, how I wound up inevitably in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has always been a thing of mine. Even I know as a kid, we used to set up little candy stores, and so the other kids would come and buy. But in my eyes, it was never for them to buy. It's really kind of weird, because I was just recently thinking about that. It never was in my mind, would they buy? I just wanted to see the little makeshift store set up. Like, I never thought that they wouldn't buy. I never thought that they wouldn't come. They always would come and buy the stuff, or try to buy the candy, or ask us, hey, when you guys gonna open up the little store? And it never dawned on me that they wouldn't come and buy. I just really just wanted to see it in front of me. I just wanted to see my hands just put this little makeshift store. And believe me, it was super makeshift. It was like little baskets with candy in there that we had half eaten. It was just so makeshift and so crazy. But it was just a concept. It was a super basic concept. And I just never was told that we couldn't do anything. So it's never like, it's never like, I want to see if I can do it. I want to see what it looks like when I'm done. I know I can do it. I just want to see it. So, that's a little bit of how and why I am heavily involved in entrepreneurship. So I have currently three active businesses, and working on some other endeavors, and some collaborations. And my biggest pride and joy right now is a business called Chezzy's Chews. And Chezzy's Chews is a multifaceted snack and beverage distribution company. We do subscription boxes, we do vending machines, we do office pantries. And office pantries for us looks like offices that need snacks on the regular, that have the budget to supply either their clients or employees, and or both, snacks, whether it be for a special occasion, for events, ongoing. We also do military care packages. And the real premise of Chezzy's Chews is to align the lack of awareness of sickle cell disease and sickle cell trade with the marginalization of Black-owned snack and beverage companies. So when I initially opened and started Chezzy's Chews, we were initially a vending machine business. That was the plan. I was considering ways to pivot and market. Like I said, I've always been in big companies, so I see how big companies diversify their income streams, and it's immediate. So for instance, let's take a clothing store. I won't say the name because they all pretty much function kind of the same. So a clothing company, they have their main item. It's going to be their signature item. A lot of times we see that with brands starting. You'll see them have their signature tee, their signature hoodie, or signature cap. They'll usually have roughly about maybe 3 to 5, and sometimes it's just one if it's a really honed in business model. But roughly it's about 3 to 5 starter items. Excuse me. And so they take those and they test the market again, because it's already been semi-tested with their initial crew, usually. But they take it and they evaluate evaluate the sales, evaluate the colors, evaluate the feedback, there's a lot of intricacies and varying things that go into place of the equations that they use to figure out what and a lot of companies use different values too. But basically they go in and evaluate their signature items, and then it allows them to grow. So what we were doing is we were placing vending machines in locations that we had privy to because of the industry that I was already in, which was real estate. I privy to a lot of larger door locations, and by larger door I mean they usually have more than 100 units or 100 doors in real estate world. They have 100 doors, and they are a sort of incubator for transplants. So I really niched where I wanted to put my machines. So that was definitely working fine. I also was doing what they call wow fridges. It's for when you do an open house or you have a show unit. You have it as a meeting point. It's a meeting point to like kind of break bread with the client and then see if they are liking the unit and kind of touch base and blah, 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 blah. Not to go all in depth, but just for anyone who's not versed on what a wow fridge is, I don't want to just throw out terms and assume people know. So so I was doing that. I was doing a couple other things, but there's really real estate focused distribution of snack products. And just to be fair, we do also house Fanfare snack and beverage products at this time. And so as I was developing just sort of a catalog, and I love systems. I believe in systems. They make things work. They make things easier. Actually, I need to really tone up the one that I have, just because, it's always good to reevaluate, because you add more important things to your life and it gets more exciting, and then you start to mismanage. But that's a whole nother topic. But so I was evaluating what was going on, and I was just like, where are all of the Black-owned snack companies? Like, I know they exist. Just simply, I'm a child from Philadelphia. We grew up on Rap Snacks. So And I'm not sure if they were always Black owned, but I do know at some point I became aware that they were. So I know that there were some Black owned snack and beverage companies out there, but they just weren't apparent. They weren't seen. They weren't in my eye view. I just couldn't find them. So I just started searching, and it became a rabbit hole. It became a huge rabbit hole of an amazing bounty of companies, and it's so many companies out there. So many companies. And honestly, that could be a whole nother topic, because a lot of what I was also noticing, and this is just a sidebar conversation, a lot of what I also was noticing, that some of the companies that were Black owned, I don't know if they were intentionally going out of their way to not appear to be Black owned, or honestly to have any Black people within their companies, but I did notice that some of the companies, I had to do a little bit more research just because things weren't apparent. So as we were as I was discovering this whole new uh love, as I was researching for these new companies, COVID is starting to hit. And COVID hit, and then it sat. So that became challenging for the locations that I had, because there were no showings of apartments. There were no public spaces open in the apartments. For instance, my vending machines were near pools, or near the pool hall, or they were in some type of common area that was closed due to COVID. So now I have machines sitting. Luckily, I had negotiated contracts where I wasn't in the red, but I was concerned. There was no income coming in, as they say, and business, business is all about the income minus the expenses equaling the profit. So, it was concerning, and I had just started the company. As far as I'm concerned, any company under 10 years is new. That's what I look at it like, because it takes a while for turnover. It takes a while for profit, and then it takes another time frame to redevelop, reconstruct, and remarket. And then I think that is truly when you start to see the next level up, is after the first true turnover. So for me, I was looking at we can't fail before we even start. To me, we were still newbies, and I just decided that the lack of information that I was able to get easily for both sickle cell and Black owned snacks and Black owned beverage companies seem to have similarities. They both, to me, involved empowering our community, both financially, medically, and in a lot of other different facets. And it just made it that more apparent that it was necessary for me to focus on a portion of our business solely exercising and exchanging and supporting and bringing awareness to these companies that I was finding. So after developing that, I had a huge list. I started using my real estate CRM to house all of the things that I was finding, because it was so much. I wanted to send out emails. I wanted to get information. I wanted to learn about their products. I wanted to include them. And, after, if anyone's done a subscription box business, because that's inevitably what our Black owned snack and beverage companies actually get their real showing in, is in our subscription boxes, is that things have space limitations. You have price point limitations. There's a lot of things when it comes to doing subscription boxes that if you've never done one, that you would definitely want to talk to somebody. And that's I could have a whole nother hour on subscription boxes and the development of subscription box companies, but that's another thing, and vending machine companies as well. But yeah, so that's Chelsea Chooses My Pride and Joy, and that's pretty much how it came to be. It was like I had found an Easter egg on a DVD, and I super dated myself right there. But when I found these companies, I just was in awe. I mean, they are amazing, from marshmallows to cotton candy to potato chips, not just Wrap Snacks. There are a few potato chip companies. There are a few marshmallow companies. There are a few cotton candy companies. There are a few, you have popcorn, you have tea companies, you have donut companies. And the other amazing thing is that they aren't just snacks, as I would call them, snacks. They're not just high sugar, empty calorie snacks, even though those have a soft space in my heart too. And I'm not judging anybody for eating any of the things that I'm talking about. But they also have they have quite a bit of companies that are making health a prime thing for their product development. So there's a company, there's a company that I really love. They have donuts, but their donuts are protein packed, and they are pretty good. And I have a client right now that she buys boxes of the donuts from me and buys boxes of these teas from me, and that's her breakfast. And I highly always suggest that people, reach out to the companies and ask them, how do I get you in my grocery stores? Because that's really the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing for Chelsea chooses to provide shelf space for these companies, because just like I didn't know that they existed, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out here do not know they exist. I could probably do a whole show on just listing them. Like, there are so many, and they keep coming up, they keep popping up, they keep being unhidden, because I think a lot of them already exist. It's just they aren't seen in many ways. Some people aren't really tech savvy, so you have that whole barrier between someone finding you on the World Wide Web or not, and then you also have, I'm just not getting them. Maybe I'm not looking up the right hashtag. Maybe I'm not searching the right way. Like, there's so many ways to not be able to find these amazing companies. I would suggest, if anyone is interested in maybe finding some products to swap out for these other commercial products, they've got their millions. Let's support some of our own, especially good products. That's one thing I would like to say. I am not a default supporter. I support if the product is good, if the customer service is good. I don't defaultly support. I just can't, because I feel like that's a contradiction on excellence. I don't encourage subpar anything. Subpar service, subpar products, subpar company, subpar interaction, subpar communication. I don't really like that. And I do give some lenience, because I do know that a lot of the companies, I know I'm definitely one of them, it's only me. Like, if you ever see that TikTok and people are like, when you say we appreciate you and we love for you to come back, it's just me. It really is just me. I'm doing logistics, I'm doing accounting, I'm doing marketing, I'm doing digital, I'm doing graphic designing, I'm doing the 5-year forecast. Like, I'm doing it all. So I do understand that too. But I have run across very few companies that I just wouldn't do business with again. But I would never speak ill on them either. So that's a caveat to it. I wouldn't be nasty about it either. So I, if anyone knows of any companies or anything that I should know of, it would be great for someone to link me up with them, because I'm always looking for new black beverage companies, black snack companies to have with our subscription boxes. And so, yeah, so just to go back a little bit, because I got off, which is pretty common with business. It's just so many different tadpoles to jump off of and start a new conversation. But yeah, so Chessy's Shoes is my definite pride and joy right now. And it's also a vehicle to create another space for sickle cell disease and sickle cell trait children, which is something that I hope to get more ink dried on that project. But yeah, so and then just to touch on just my experience as a black woman in America. There's a lot of things. Actually, there's so many topics on this. So for me is it's a lot. I will say though, while being an entrepreneur, I have experienced some of the most amazing experiences with other business owners, both of color and not of color. In comparison to me in the corporate field. In the corporate, and honestly, I really think that's why I've always looked at those jobs as contracts. And that was one thing that my mom taught us very young on, was the fluidity of the contract of employment. She always explained to us that it was a contract. She never proposed it to us as a duty. So when you look at it in that way, you're allowed to negotiate and maneuver differently because your mindset on what it is and what it really is different. And so I have always been pretty firm on expectations of whether I be the manager or I have someone over me or anything like that. I'm very transparent when it comes to what my expectations are and what I need, just because I'm a problem solver and transparency is key. So a lot of times, especially in sales, you find yourself with people who sometimes don't have the best social skills. And so a lot of times, I find myself in, not a lot of times, that's an over exaggeration, but, and I guess I'm probably saying a lot of times because the weight of those situations are heavy. They are impactful and they almost give you like a they kind of give you a tool to use the next time you're in that situation. So, I've been in some really interesting situations, both in real estate and in retail sales, that were highly racially aggressive. And one situation in particular, when I was designing offices, literally left me to tears. I think I was more in shock. I don't think the tears, my feelings weren't hurt. That's something else. My family's always been transparent, especially being from the South, owning as much land as they've owned. They've always been transparent with us about racism and what to expect, because at least you're not in the dark. And I know that that's a sensitive subject and very delicate topic to even approach to address to children while still being traumatized. Um, but we were always very much aware of just some people don't like black people for um, whatever reason. So I think that um, it's it's been it's been interesting. A lot of times it's been people in shock of. Sometimes I want to say sometimes people are in shock of you just not fitting the stereotype. And sometimes I think people are just trying to antagonize to get you to be whatever they envision your stereotype is. And it's been, I can say it's been a lot better as far as interaction wise as being an entrepreneur, and not because I have more control and more say, but the environment and the energy is just different when you're in a progressive environment and you're surrounded with creatives and those that are in the business of expressing themselves and not hindering someone else's expression. A lot of times, in the real estate, it gets very dicey because, it's example for property management. You have different types of people that you come across with, and really anybody who qualifies for the apartment obviously can move in. So even if they seem a little bit unsafe, if they follow the criteria and they are able to move in with no issues, no background issues and everything, they move in. And you tend to initially maybe not be able to verbalize the microaggressions, and you tend to maybe not want to immediately jump to you being done wrong, and there's a lot of different things, especially when you're talking about real estate. As a property manager, I went through training constantly, and there's a big thing on fair housing, which I'm definitely a firm believer of, especially if it is including everyone. So it just you just wind up in different situations, and a lot of times, people wouldn't believe that I was competent. A lot of times people just wouldn't believe that I was managing the property, or that I knew what I was talking about, or I was confident and versed in the laws. Currently, right now, I'm in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and they have considerable amount of laws. I'm pretty sure they're not too much more than any other place I've lived, or any other state in the U.S. But they have, pretty stringent laws on being fair. And it's really crazy how you have to write down how to be fair to people, and put it in bindable and finable terms. But that is what it is. And you know I I guess I was hyper vigilant on being aware on it. One, because I don't like not knowing my industry. And two, um, I knew that if anyone's been out in Portland, Oregon, you will know how homogenous it is. I knew that I would have pushback because me being a black female. I knew, not so much of like I'm setting myself up for failure and I'm putting myself in a negative space, but mama ain't raised no fool. I'm not expecting it, but I at least want to be prepared for it. So my preparation is to be the most adequate and efficient property manager I could be. And actually, it's really kind of interesting like going back to my family, just being industrial and industrious and just being hustlers at heart. I was doing real estate, and I was like, I need to get paid to learn hands on. And it was so crazy. The job that was there was the apartment that we were currently renting, because we were new to Oregon. We were renting an apartment, and the property man just randomly sent out this email. I swear, I was just like, I've really got to get paid to learn real estate hands-on. I need to know, but I'm not trying to pay for these classes. There's a lot of classes, and really, I wouldn't mind working in the industry hands-on, so I could utilize that as experience and on-the-job training. So out of nowhere, the property manager sends out this email saying, please bear with me. It's only me. It's only been me for months. And I don't have a leasing assistant, and I don't have a maintenance supervisor. And he was just running down the gambit of what he didn't have. And I don't think this is just a Philly thing, but I think the Philly in me heard, you don't have, I'm right here. I could do this. I got this. I can do this. I know I can do this. I just need him to I just need him to say yes, he'll interview me. If he'll interview me, I knew I could have it. And I sent him an email, and I said, yeah, I see that you sent out this email to all of the residents about you being overworked and overexhausted. And I have ample amount of skill sets that could attribute to the office and help out. And I'm wanting to learn. I'm in the process of getting my real estate license. Would you be interested? He hired me the next day. And I just, like, those are the things. That's what mindset can do. That's what mindset can set you up for. And, that's some of my experience. Just, I feel like that was part of my entrepreneurship, because as I said, my mother has taught us that these jobs are contracts. They don't have as much control and as much weight, because it's all terms and conditions. You do so X amount of hours or X amount of job for X amount of pay and X amount of benefits. It's a contract, and it's a mutual contract. It's not a one-sided contract. So once that was in play, then I negotiated other things. I negotiated trainings. I negotiated to the point where I then had his job. That's how much I negotiated. And then from there, I never looked back on real estate. I always was doing what I wanted, and negotiating in terms that I wanted to negotiate in, as far as where I was at and what I was ready for at that time. And I will say that, entrepreneurship gives you confidence of reinstilling that you can do things and you can accomplish things. And I think that for those that find it beneficial for them and their personality types, run with it. Don't think that what you're thinking is crazy. Don't think that what you're thinking is scary. And honestly, scary is kind of exciting. That's just me. Honestly, the scarier it gets, the more, no, don't get me wrong, my body is scared, but the more my mind is like, this is probably what you need to be doing. This is outside of your comfort zone. That means it's really what you need to be doing. And you need to go for it. It's going to happen. It's going to work. It's not, will it work? How will it work? When will you make it work the way that you need it to be on your terms? And I just think that entrepreneurship is the avenue for it. I'm not a entrepreneurship for everybody 2022 type of person. Like I said, I have friends that are educators that don't want to do entrepreneurship as another facet of their career, because they know, or they feel, I don't want to say they know, they feel that their strong suit is in supporting our education system or in supporting housing system. So it's just really, really kind of crazy. And just thinking about it all, and just wanting everybody to know, those are the foundations of me. Is very, very lucid, and that's a little bit insight on me and entrepreneurship and some of my experience with it. And I'm glad to say that I have the most memorable experiences through entrepreneurship. They've helped me grow. They've helped me develop. They've helped me fix other people's pain points. And it's helped me to support other businesses. I love being a Black business that supports other Black businesses. I buy a lot of our products, not just our Black snacks and beverages, but if I can find a Black box company, a Black paper supply company, I use them. I can't see why I couldn't. And honestly, I feel as though it's hard for me to really say I'm a Black business if I don't in turn at least support 5 other Black businesses within my business. Because if I take that money and then turn around and give it to not our businesses, am I really a Black business? It's just a thought that I've always had, and I think that that's really a motto of ours, is we must contribute and give back into the community at least 4 to 5 other businesses. Like I said, we do house fanfare things, but for our specialty items, that's what those excellent companies are for. And just on the last note for this segment, this has been about just an introduction to me. This has been a rough little introduction to me and entrepreneurship and my experiences. And I believe that there's many things for us to do out here to contribute to our community. Just find your niche. It may be in the corporate field. Some people have never experienced what I've experienced, and I'm glad that. I'm really glad that some people haven't experienced what I was saying. And I'm glad that I haven't experienced what my mother has experienced, or what some of the older generation has experienced, or what some of us, maybe some others have experienced that I haven't gladfully been privy to. But I do think that we do have ways to contribute, and just because it's hard doesn't mean it's impossible. Thank you guys for tuning in for this episode, and I'll check you out at next time. This is With the Shits, hosted by Lana.